Pete Farrell, Madison Square Garden, for the press conference for Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, championship fight. So please stay tuned.
April the 30th, the undisputed Women's Lightweight World Championship, live on DAZN here from the Mecca of boxing, Madison Square Garden. The first time in 140 years of boxing and combat sport history, two females have headlined here at Madison Square Garden. This is going to be not just the biggest female fight of all time, but one of the biggest fights of all time. When I go over to our promotional partners, Most Valuable Promotions, quite unique to be sitting here with Jake Paul after, what was it, 3 years ago that I promoted your...
2 years.
2 years ago, sorry about that. It feels like a long time promoting your professional debut. Some hold me responsible for that, but you've come a long way since. And now with your promoter's hat on, just a really great time for Most Valuable Promotions. I'm sure you're very proud of the work you and Nikisa have done. I'll come to Nikisa shortly, and obviously proud of Amanda as well as we sit ahead of this historic event on April 30th.
Yeah, 100%. What an honor to be here at the historic Madison Square Garden. I want to give a big thanks to Jim Dolan and the entire MSG team for making history with us, for real. This is awesome. And women have been boxing since the early 1900s, but it wasn't until 1999 that they were able to compete professionally. So 23 years later, here we are with one of the biggest fights ever, headlined by two women at Madison Square Garden. Today is about Amanda and Katie, the two best female boxers in the world right now. They deserve this stage, they deserve this historic payday, and they deserve to settle who is the pound for pound best, which is why I'm excited to see this fight, for real. But it's also about Ann Wolfe, Christy Martin, Layla Ali, Mia St. John, and many other legendary boxers who helped lay the foundation for the ladies to be sitting here today. It's about Clarissa Shields, Michaela Meyer, Alicia Baumgartner, and other amazing professionals currently in the sport. And most of all, it's about the future young women and girls all over the world who will see April 30th as a moment that made the impossible possible, equality as it's meant to be. So it's an honor to be here with Eddie Hearn, Matchroom DAZN, Madison Square Garden. We're grateful for Katie Taylor and her team to commit to taking this fight. And of course, most of all, we're proud to stand with Amanda Serrano, the superstar, a woman who has dedicated her whole life to boxing, doesn't have a phone. Meanwhile, I'm posting TikToks all the time. And now it's time to start showing, the commitment she has made and showing the world how important women's boxing is to people like Bob Arum, who misspoke, when he made his comments earlier this week. And he's going to eat his words April 30th. And he's going to see how impactful this fight is. So I'm excited to be here, and let's make history.
You're definitely right, and I have to thank my coach, Jordan Maldonado, for not accepting the first couple of fights and keep going back and forth. And he knows what I was worth, and and now we're working with MVP, and they know exactly what we're worth as well. And timing couldn't be better than right now. Happy National Girl and Woman in Sports Day, which is today. Couldn't be a better day than to do all this press. And yeah, women, we're changing the sport, and I'm super happy, I'm super glad, and honored to share the ring with Katie Taylor. She's a great champion, and we're going to prove who's the pound for pound best, because everyone's been asking for it.
I know there's a lot of respect between you two, sometimes a few back and forths over the years as well, but make no mistake, you're coming here with bad intentions and looking to end this fight inside the distance. That's what you do. You have heavy hands, you're very exciting, as is Katie. We can only expect a tremendous fight on April 30th. Yeah,
nothing changed. I'm still Amanda, the real deal Serrano. And, I don't need to talk bad about any of my opponents. I do all my talking inside the ring. I respect Katie Taylor, what she's done. She's opened, between you and her, you guys opened the doors for women's boxing. And now look, we're headlining MSG. So there's going to be no bad words between us, but in the ring it's something different.
And finally, if someone would have said to you a few years ago that, you'd be headlining this arena, main arena, Madison Square Garden, for this type of money and this kind of attention, this kind of legacy, it seems like this was a million miles away. I mean, Katie you were doing it before, Katie, in the pro game. I'm sure the struggle was incredible back then, but this is really just the moment where all your hard work, and not just yours, but all female fighters that Jake talked about as well, it all comes together to show them that the world will change on this night.
No, 13 years I've been a professional. Every other day I wanted to quit. The struggle was real. I never had an easy way out of this. I mean, in the game. And never did I imagine making the money I'm making today and headlining Madison Square Garden. Like, are you serious? You know, it wasn't not even a thought. And look, we're changing the game. Like, now younger girls in the sport can be like, I want to be just like those girls. I want to headline the Garden. Now there's hope for them. We never had that hope, and I'm excited to open those doors.
Hi, Pete Farrell with Amanda Serrano at Madison Square Garden. How you doing, champ?
I'm doing great. How are you?
What's going on?
I'm getting ready for this fight.
I want you to look into that camera and tell them how great this fight is and how big it is.
Well, this is a big fight. History. I love making history, and we're making history come April 30th, Madison Square Garden. Unheard of, never thought that this would happen, and I'm here, Madison Square Garden, headlining and making, both of us making the biggest payday of our lives. So hopefully it's not the last.
This is a big event. I know you're a great fighter. I believe you only lost one time. Will you get stage fright when you go into that big building?
No, I've been lucky enough to fight on Jake Paul's undercard, my last two fights, and those crowds been crazy, and I'm glad that I got to wet my feet in those crowds because this is going to be nothing.
How do you feel about somebody like the great promoter Bob Arum stating that this fight doesn't really move the needle and it's being promoted as female this, female that, when it is a great fight on paper and it should play out to be a great fight? How do you feel about that?
No, it's a great fight. You know, people have their own opinions, but we're gonna show April 30th that people are interested in seeing women's fight because this is history making. This fight is two talented, skilled fighters, two champions. I'm unified champion. She's undisputed champion. So this fight is gonna, sell itself. People are interested in seeing this fight, and this fight's been, held off a couple of times. So.
Where are you going to train for this fight at?
Well, sometime here, and then I'm going to Puerto Rico for a little while.
Will that distract you?
No. I'm going to Puerto Rico because we have great champions, great fighters, and I know they're going to give me the best of work over there, sparring.
The type of payday that you will receive, because it's well known around boxing now that it's going to be a very big check, will that spoil you? Will you want that for every fight after that?
You know what? We know the magnitude of this fight. We know why we're getting this amount of money. The only reason is because we're fighting each other. I don't think, no, it's not going to spoil me. I'm always humble, and I don't.
Nice looking too.
Thank you. I don't think that I'm gonna, settle for something like what I used to get like a couple of years ago. But I think it's only gonna get better from now.
Have you seen any Katie Taylor's fights?
Yeah, I've seen her fight. When she fights, I watch it live, but I don't go back and look at it. My team does that, and then they put out the game plan, and then I just have to follow it.
Are you good at following the game plan?
Of course, I'm always.
Can you follow a strategy for a fight?
Yes, I can.
Have you done that before?
I have.
Has it ever presented any problems for you?
Nope. I have the best team. I have the best trainer, so I'm good.
God bless you. Seem like a really great athlete, and I hope this fight, again, sells on its merit, not on the female thing.
No, that wouldn't.
Thank you, champ.
Thank you.
I think it was like 7 years ago you were in my office with Brian trying to tell me that we could do something in women's boxing. I didn't believe you at the time, but your passion, your love, your drive made me come along for the ride, and what a ride it's been. If we would have sat there at that moment and said one day you'd be headlining, you might have believed it, but I wouldn't have, and many didn't. And this is the moments that you live for.
Yeah, exactly. I think ever since I turned pro, I've had my eyes fixed on two fights. One was Brazil and the other one was Serrano. And so this is a fight that I've been looking forward to for quite some time now. I feel like since the fight has been announced a couple of weeks ago, I'm nearly sitting back just reflecting on these last few years, and it's incredible how far the sport has actually come in the 5 short years, where we're actually headlining the Mecca box at Madison Square Garden. It's been called the biggest fight in female boxing history. This is such a privilege to be part of such an historic moment. This is history right here, and all of our hard work has been all paid off on this night. This is going to be a career-defining night.
I remember going back to when you debuted at Wembley. People they weren't sure, were they? Like, for years we've been banging the drum, and I've just said, just watch Katie Taylor, watch these elite females. It's not about female boxing, it's not about men's boxing, it's just about boxing. And this event already in these last few days feels like people talking about this fight, as a major fight, not female fight. I remember we joke about my idea where I came to you a few years ago and said, I'm going to headline you on an all-female card. And that wasn't really your vision, was it? It was just about the perception of equality for great fights.
Yeah, that's it. I think this fight genuinely is the most exciting fight in the sport, not just in female boxing, but in boxing as a whole. And not just because of our records, but I believe that our styles will gel well together. It's going to produce a fantastic fight for the fans. This really is the best fight in boxing right now. And it's not about female boxing or male boxing. This is just boxing. This is top class boxing. And so this is exactly why we're here. Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're both great champions, and she has a great record. There's no doubt about it. She's a great fighter. We're going to be both stepping into the ring fight night, believing that we're both going to come out victorious. But I do believe that when you look down the list of our opponents, you'll see recognisable names on my resume. You'll see the likes of McCaskill, the likes of Pursoon, the likes of Jonas, among others, and you'll also see top-class amateur boxers as an amateur as well. So I have been tested, I have been refined in the fire, and I believe that we'll stand to be in a fight this competitive. So we're both going to go in the best shape possible and may the best fighter win.
Pete Farrow with world champion Katie Taylor. Katie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. It's been a busy morning here in MSG, but I'm so excited.
You're very excited?
Yeah.
All right, we know that this event is going to sell. So that challenge is going, but what type of challenge does Amanda present to you?
Yeah, she's obviously a great fighter, a good KO percentage as well. But I feel like I'm at that experience where there's no surprises anymore. I do genuinely believe this is the most exciting fight in the sport, and I believe that our styles will produce just a fantastic fight for the fans. But I do honestly believe that we'll come out victorious, and I have everything in my arsenal to come out as a winner.
How do you feel about your event going up against the Shakar Stevenson fight the same night in Las Vegas?
Yeah, it's a pity really that there's two great fights going on at the same time, but I'm not really concerned about it. I think this is an historical moment. This is a history-making fight, and regardless of what other fights going on, I don't think this is in the 140-year history in Madison Square Garden. This is the first time a female has actually headlined a fight. This is absolutely historical right here. So it's such a privilege to be a part of such an amazing event.
Well, you're an amazing woman. Are you guys signed for one fight or for two fights?
You have to ask my manager about that. I think it's just a one fight.
Oh, it's just a one fight.
I have no idea, to be honest. Maybe there's a rematch clause in the contract, but I'm not so sure.
How do you think that you will be remembered when you're retired from boxing?
Hopefully I'll be remembered for a great fighter, that I've never ducked any challenge. I think my own record speaks for itself, and that ever since I've turned pro a few years ago, I've only wanted to fight the very best in my field, and that's why I am involved in the sport. So I want to be remembered as a great fighter who took no one.
You are a great fighter, and you're also very pretty. I mean, if I walked by you down the street, I would not suspect that you were a boxer for a living, a professional pugilist. I just never think it would happen. How did you get into boxing?
It was just involved with my family. My dad was a boxer, and my two older brothers boxed. My mum was also the first female boxing judge in Ireland, so she's a pioneer in her own sense. So it was just involved. It was just a family thing, really.
It's part of your roots.
Yeah, part of my roots, it's just in the blood.
Do you think the day that you retire, you'll be either a sportscaster or a trainer or something? Will you still be affiliated with boxing?
Yeah, I think I'd love to stay involved in the sport. I think when boxing gets into your blood, it's very hard to walk away from it. I love the sport. It's always been my passion, and I think I will stay involved after I retire in some way. Right now I'm not sure what that looks like, but I would love to stay involved in the sport.
That is beautiful. I want you to look into that camera right now.
Yeah.
Tell everybody on Foreman Boxing Magazine how this fight will end.
I'm not really much into predictions, but I'm obviously stepping into the ring believing I'm going to win the fight, and I will 100% come out victorious.
We appreciate that. Pete Farrow, Madison Square Garden with world champion Katie Taylor. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
Eddie, as you see Jake Paul promoting Amanda, and he's also a fighter, do you feel like his potential to be on the high level of, Canelo or Floyd, or as far as his potential?
Well, as a fighter?
As a fighter.
That'd be ridiculous.
So there's no chance at all? I'm saying,
Absolutely no chance whatsoever. I mean, I'll tell him. I don't mind. I'm not saying it because he's gone over there.
okay.
No, don't be ridiculous. He has no ability, really, in terms of being a championship fighter. Like, I've seen worse pros than Jake Paul. But when he talks about fighting Canelo and stuff like that,
Right,
it's hard for me not to laugh. I don't know whether he's I think a little bit of his tongue in cheek. I think he likes winding people up, but he certainly believes in himself.
Right.
But listen, I like Jake Paul, and I'm a big believer that he is actually dedicating himself to the sport. I think he's doing the sparring. I think he's doing the training. So why shouldn't he be able to do what everybody else is able to do? Right. We should penalise him because he's got a massive following and therefore does a load of pay-per-view buys and sells out arenas. He's built that. Do you know what I mean? Right. Some fighters will say, "Oh, it's not fair. I've been grinding in the gym for 20 years." Well, you haven't built a following and you're not any good.
Right.
So that's true, isn't it? It's life. Like, well,
Eddie, if Taylor Serrano wasn't your fight, would you stay home and watch it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I don't mind. To be honest, I will say one thing. I'll do a show every weekend, pretty much. So when I don't do a show, I don't really watch a lot of boxings because I'll get, castrated at home. But it's a brilliant fight. Like, forget, it's a women's fight and all that. It's a really good fight. Watch them both fight and tell me this won't be a cracker.